Good evening. Is anybody else getting tired yet? I mean, I think we ought to hold a vote, a special election, and I think we should vote to go back to, I don't know, the 80s. Will that work? Go back to the 80s? Man, like I've been saying, the news is just continuing to get more insane and continuing to get more concerning. I have got a ton of headlines open, and I mean, it's just, especially on the situation that's unfolding involving Russia and Ukraine. That is not a good situation, and that does not show any signs of easing up. The U.S., not just involvement, but the U.S. Consequences as well, are coming more and more clear, becoming more clear. The U.S. intentions, what we're doing. The reason I point that out is because when this does go down, and I do believe it's going to go down, you have to understand that, as Russia's claiming, and from my understanding correctly so, we're pumping a bunch of equipment into Ukraine. That's not good. Regardless of who it is that uses that equipment, the U.S. is going to be held at least partly responsible. So, will that lead to, direct conflict with the United States? Let's say that Ukraine does something. Let's say they try to, take back Crimea, for instance. Does that mean the U.S. would instantly get involved? No, it doesn't. But I don't think that that's how it's going to go down. I'm not quite sure who would make the first move, but I am pretty certain Crimea really wouldn't be that much of a thought in this. I think it's going to be widespread across the border there with Russia. I don't think it's going to be any one particular area. And I think it's going to go all out quick as far as between Russia and Ukraine. Now, I mean, common sense is common sense. You've got Ukraine and you've got Russia. I think it'd go on for a little bit, but I do think that you have to understand the administration that we have right now. I do think we'll get involved. So that's why I'm watching this so closely, this situation that's going on over there. Over here, obviously we still have the same old crap going on. Things are it's crazy times. It's really crazy times. I mean, on one side of the spectrum, and I'm not trying to get politically involved or anything like that. I'm just talking about news. But on one side of the spectrum, you have the possibility, some think possibly a likelihood, that Roe versus Wade will be overturned. Okay? That seems, for the right, anyway, politically, to be an incredible victory. At the same time, the left is having incredible victories. As far as social media is concerned, the left is still controlling it. That's, in my opinion, a pretty incredible victory that they keep winning consistently. Man, it's some messed up stuff. Let me let me go ahead and migrate over to some of the headlines because the first couple I have don't have to do anything to do with COVID or Russia. The first couple of headlines I have to do have to do with a couple of, I don't even know of a good enough word to describe them, right? I really honestly don't. Let me pull this over here. So this just literally came out as I was starting the show. This just came out. Now the next one I have had up since it came out, or I had it up ever since I planned on the structure of the show. So, but this had just came out. Christmas parade massacre suspect feels demonized following attack. This is how crazy, absolutely mind-blowingly crazy stuff is. The suspect behind last month's Waukesha Christmas parade massacre, which killed 6 people and injured 62 more, has claimed he feels dehumanized and demonized in the aftermath of the attack. Okay, so now we're supposed to be considerate and concerned with his feelings after he mowed down a parade, killing 6, injuring 62 more. And we're supposed to be concerned about how we respond to his actions. I'm telling you, I'm going to stand behind what I said. I firmly stand behind punishment being tie him up on the town square, let the townspeople know in advance, and walk away. That's my solution. But anyway, here it says 39-year-old Darrell Brooks Jr., a registered sex offender with a lengthy history of arrests, has been in jail for 10 days as the chief suspect behind the deadly November attack. Speaking to Fox News on Wednesday, he said he feels dehumanized by the coverage of the case. I just feel like I'm being monster demonized, Brooks told 2 Fox News reporters who were reportedly the first visitors he had received in jail since his arrest. He also told the news network that even his mother had not visited since he allegedly drove his car into a crowd of Christmas parade attendees in Waukesha, Wisconsin on November 21st. Brooks' mother, Dawn Woods, blamed a lack of mental health resources for the attack in a letter on Wednesday, claiming her son was not given the help and resources he needed. Brooks has an extensive criminal record and has been arrested less than a month before the attack for punching and running over a woman with the same car that was used to hit the parade attendees. He was released on $1,000 bond not long before the parade attack. He had been charged with 6 counts of murder and being held on a $5 million bail, which, as you know, Black Lives Matter keeps trying to raise to get him out. I mean, this is when do we say, okay, this is unacceptable? You know what I mean? Because it seems like there's a large group of people that have no line or something when it comes to unacceptable. They want to accept stuff like this. They want to accept things like pedophilia. Where does it end? Where does it end? I want to tell you a little secret. It's not going to end unless somebody ends it, right? If everybody just stands around and idly watches evil but does nothing about it, that evil's going to grow. And we've let that evil fester in this nation and around the world for a very, very long time. Now we have to face the music. That's how you get people like this. That's how you get not only people like this, but completely deranged lunatics that would support people like this. It's crazy. Now let me have a sip of coffee. This next one, I guess I don't have enough information to really know what to think. To be honest, it's kind of, I don't know, very vague. I know that. So, as you know, may know, it I reported on it yesterday. There was a school shooting in Michigan. Yeah, I wanted to make sure. For some reason, sometimes I get Michigan, Wisconsin crossed up, so I wanted to make sure. 15-year-old school shooting suspect charged with terrorism. This is a 15-year-old that was involved in a school shooting in Michigan. Let me go ahead and read this. And I'm going to read this whole thing, and it's not that big, but it's just so insane how little information, yet how much evidence they claim to have. That they claim to have a ton of evidence. And I looked, I was on the interwebs for about an hour and a half or so earlier this afternoon, trying to find out a little bit of information on this, and I couldn't. Every place I looked had the same old copy-pasted information, but I could find nothing. And if somebody knows of something, let me know. But I could really find nothing that went into any detail of any kind on this young man. Now, I did come across his dad's YouTube channel. His YouTube channel has been taken down, as well as his Facebook and whatnot. But his dad has a YouTube channel, and he has a couple of videos that he put up on his dad's YouTube channel. And so I'd, clicked on one of them and listened to it a little bit just to kind of get a feel for kind of the kid's, attitude, mannerism. But the video was uploaded like 5 years ago. So he had to have been 10 years old. Again, there's not a lot of information. Let me go ahead and read this. It says, Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald has announced charges against the 15-year-old suspect in a Michigan high school shooting this week, including 1 count of terrorism. 4 students were killed in Tuesday's attack. Today, the start of the legal process. When we begin to gather and review all the facts, we get to put together a full timeline of events, McDonald, a former family court judge, said on Wednesday while revealing the charges. It will take time, but the victims and their families and the entire community need and deserve those answers. The shooting occurred at Oxford High School in Michigan's Oakland County. The 15-year-old suspect, who will be tried as an adult, will be charged with 1 count of terrorism causing death, 4 counts of first-degree homicide, 7 counts of assault with the intent to kill, and 12 counts of possession of a firearm while committing a felony. Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard earlier released the identities of the victims, who ranged in age from 14 to 17. The 4th victim's death was announced only hours before the charges were revealed on Wednesday. 6 others were injured in the shooting, which was committed with a semi-automatic handgun purchased only last week by the suspect's father, according to authorities. The motive for the shooting is not known, and Bouchard said on Tuesday the suspect, identified as sophomore Ethan Crumbly, has retained a lawyer and is not cooperating with investigators. The person that's got the most insight and the motive is not talking, Bouchard told reporters. This is nuts. I'll explain why I say that. However, McDonald said on Wednesday there is enough digital evidence to prove the shooting was premeditated. There is a mountain of digital evidence, videotape, social media, all digital evidence possible, she said. The prosecutor also said charges are being considered against the parents of the suspect, despite him being tried as an adult. Now, here's the thing, and this is a short article regarding this. I've read many long articles regarding this, and again, a lot of the same old information is just kind of copied and pasted, and this right here is just tiny, a tiny selection of that information. But you would think if they have this mountain of evidence, you would think they would at least have released a motive. From my understanding, when they were asked about what they thought, if the students that were shot, if they were particularly targeted, they seem to be really, really hesitant to indicate anything of the sort. The articles make it sound, and you got to understand the media, they just say whatever the hell they want to say. So you have to take this in consideration. They say he just walked in, or, he was in the bathroom, came out of the bathroom with the gun in his hand, and just started opening fire. At the same time, if you read enough articles, you'll gather enough information to know that he was supposedly, allegedly, looking in classrooms and pointing the gun in the classrooms, and it all but said it was almost like he was looking for, I don't even know if it was certain individuals, certain kids, or if it was, and I'm just going to say it, a certain race or a certain gender or a certain whatever. I don't know. But it almost made it seem like there was something to do with that. Now, also, I want to add to this, he is being charged with terrorism. That's a serious charge. Okay? Guess who's not charged with terrorism? Right? Guess who's not charged with terrorism? Maybe this guy? So, if this kid is, and he's just a kid. I mean, it's crazy. I don't get it, and I guess they just haven't released enough information. But his half brother, or however it was that it stated, it had made the comment that he was a good kid. He was quiet. He liked video games, like Minecraft and stuff. He was a good kid. And, another student had described him as very, very quiet, which is common. That's common when you find out a little bit about people that do mass shootings and stuff like that. There are many of them that are quiet. Don't know. Don't know. They seemed very hesitant to say this had anything to do really with bullying. But to be charged with terrorism causing death. There's something about that particular charge that tells me that there's something to this, something very big to this, that they're being very, very tight-lipped about. And when I say that, I mean that I think he was particularly targeting specific individuals, and by that I don't mean individuals like this guy and that girl and that girl. No, I think there was something identifying about these individuals, whether it be something to do with race or gender or whatever. I don't think I don't think it would be gender because I think there was boys and girls listed in the names of the children that were killed. So I don't know that it would be gender. I don't know. Ethan himself, I don't have a picture here to show you, but he is white. He is Caucasian. So if that's got something to do with it, I have no idea. So we'll see. We'll see if more information comes out, or if they kind of try to sweep this under the rug. It's I don't know. It's crazy anymore. You know, I just wish we could get news. That's what I'm trying to do here for you, but it's hard to do. Because hey, I don't have the money and the resources and all that to go put my own boots on the ground and get this information. So unfortunately, I have to rely on other information. And when they won't get that information or aren't given that information or whatever the case may be, then that's all I've got to come to you with. I don't try to be like many others out there that try to throw my own spin on it or anything like that. I'm just looking for the correct answer. I don't personally need that answer to be a certain way. I'm here to do news, not propagandize you or myself. So I don't know. I this one's got me. And yeah, stuff like this bothers me. I guess that's why I'm kind of stammering and kind of just hanging around on it, because it bothers me. It really bothers me why a 15-year-old would do that. And again, they don't really seem to indicate that bullying is an answer here. So, and I would think that something of that sort would have popped up by now. We'll see. Okay, let me have a sip of coffee and we'll get going on other topics here. We're already almost a half an hour past. Wow. I figured I'd be spending a while on those first two, though. Goodness. Don't you love dead air? I love nicotine, so win-win, right? Okay, well, I win, you didn't, but I'm back. Okay, now we get to talk about this insanity. COVID-19 quarantine escapees arrested after manhunt. I mean, what part of that headline do you want to talk about first? I think it's crazy what is going on in Australia and other places around the world. I don't know that we would ever reach a point like this here, because I don't think we would allow it. I do think that the American people would long stand up before they allow this kind of nonsense that they're doing over in Australia, and that they're doing, where else was it that I keep reading about? Is it Africa? I know Austria's got a lot of insanity going on. Germany's working hard at it. But anyway, here, this situation, sorry, we'll get back more focused. That's why I bring up these articles, to keep focused, but, I am me. It says Australian police have arrested 3 people who escaped from a COVID-19 quarantine compound near Darwin in the Northern Territory. They all had tested negative the day before they broke out. On Wednesday, police alleged that 3 people had scaled the perimeter fence of the compound in order to break out of the facility situated near Darwin in the Northern Territory. We already covered that. Police say that the trio escaped the Center for National Resilience. Don't you love the name of that? Oh, it's the Center for National Resilience. No, it's the COVID camp, man. Let's see. They did so just before 4:40 a.m. Good time. Oh, dark 30? Good time. Officers had set up checkpoints and were inspecting cars in the area in an attempt to find the absconders. You absconders. Pardon me. Frog. Let's see. The 3 were swiftly caught and taken into custody. Police and staff of the Center for National Resilience are currently confirming the absconders' identities prior to releasing further information, authorities stated. Officials did not confirm whether the inmates were returning travelers or local citizens who had been put into quarantine. According to the BBC, the center had been used in recent days to house people infected with COVID-19 from an outbreak in Catherine, a town 300 kilometers away. Yeah, I'm not good with this whole quarantine compound. I mean, okay, so we don't have quarantine compounds here, right? Many countries don't have quarantine compounds. Why do they think they need quarantine compounds? Do they think that they're really going to do much? Because unless you just absolutely cut off any travel from outside countries, and I mean 100%, you will never stop this. Because people will come into your country and bring it in. It'll get in. Look at the places where it's gotten. You know, I mean, really nobody is safe. You can't say anybody is safe. And when I say that, I'm not saying that, oh, you got to be scared to death of it or anything like that. No, what I'm saying is it's a frickin' virus and a very transmissible one at that. It is what it is. But that being said, it's nothing that we need to start running around our houses, flailing our arms and screaming about. Yes, unfortunately, a lot of people are dying from it. I probably wouldn't survive it. But, I have to protect me. Right? I have to be the one to protect me. Nobody else can really do that. So if I'm concerned about my chances of survival if I get it, then I probably need to stay away from places where I might get it. And yeah, that sucks for me. Now, it would suck for me. My life doesn't change. I don't want to go anywhere anyway. I don't want to be around people. But, if I did, that would suck for me. Most people aren't like me. Most people do want to go out. They want to do things. They want to, And yeah, it would suck. But there's a lot of things in life that sucks. The current measures that are being taken to deal with this simply are not effective. There's no way they could be effective. This thing's, it's like the flu. I'm not saying it is the flu or anything like that, but what I'm saying is that's how transmissible it is, and that's how impossible it is to completely stop it. This is going to run its course, and there's only two differences on how that happens, whether it's just naturally allowed to run it or whether or not they lengthen it out as long as they can with all this insanity. but it's still going to run its course. I don't know. Just my thoughts on it. What do I know? No more free coffee for Berlin's unvaxxed? Absolutely not. A German coffeehouse chain landed in hot water after it offered free beverages to unvaccinated patrons at its Berlin shops. The stunt was in response to stricter lockdown measures that came into force last weekend. The 2G plus rules came into force in the German capital last Saturday, restricting access to most public venues to people vaccinated against COVID-19 and those who have been recovered from the disease. So on Tuesday, the franchise Wonder Waffles posted an ad on his social media pages announcing that it was offering free coffee to unvaccinated clients. A small print text section added that the offer actually applied to to-go orders by all patrons regardless of their vaccination status. So they more or less kind of did it humorous, but to make a point, right? It's... Like I say, this, I don't have, let's see, I've got, 4 more when it comes to COVID stuff. Not a lot of time I'm going to spend on it. The EU chief is saying that now it's time to start thinking about mandatory vaccination. Man, I do think that there's a fairly good chance that they may try that here. They may try it. I'm not saying that they'll succeed because they're not doing very damn well on these mandates for the workplace, are they? So, I'm not saying that they're going to succeed, but I'm saying I do think they're at least going to try here in the U.S. To try to mandate everybody. We'll see. We'll see. I'm going to move through these kind of quickly. Of course, I'm sure you've heard by now the first Omicron case has been confirmed in the United States, in California, where else? So, it's here. There's nothing you're going to do to stop it. This is what I thought was really interesting. With all this fear going on, South Africa has been pretty well staying pretty consistent with their message. If you've been paying attention, South Africa has been saying that from what they're seeing of it, even though it's more contagious, the symptoms doesn't seem to be that bad. Not nearly as bad as, say, like the Delta variant. Now, that's what they're saying. That's what South Africa is saying. I will read some of this. It says South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said his country is being penalized for detecting the latest COVID-19 variant of concern dubbed Omicron, urging other nations to lift travel bans imposed amid alarm over the new strain. Excellent science should be applauded and not punished, the president said during a state visit to Nigeria on Wednesday, noting that a growing number of countries had instituted travel bans on South Africa as a result of the discovery by our scientists of the new Omicron variant of the coronavirus. Though Ramaphosa said he recognized nations have the right to take the necessary precautionary measures to protect their citizens, he stressed that this pandemic requires collaboration and sharing of expertise, calling on other states in the region to unite against arbitrary, unscientific, and discriminatory restrictions. The president's comments echoed a statement issued by South Africa Foreign Ministry over the weekend, which also declared that the country was being punished for its excellent science, saying the travel bans were akin to punishing South Africa for its advanced genomic sequencing and the ability to detect new variants quicker. However, while the new variant triggered near immediate panic across Asia, Europe, and beyond after it was first detected, local health officials have called for a more cautious approach. The chair of the South African Medical Association, Dr. Angelique Coetzee, who personally announced the discovery of the first Omicron patient, has argued that the heavy travel restrictions brought in the UK and elsewhere were hasty and unjustified. The simple truth is, we do not know yet anywhere near enough about Omicron to make such judgments or impose such policies, Coetzee wrote in an op-ed earlier this week, adding that in South Africa we retained a sense of perspective. We've had no new regulations or talk of lockdowns because we're waiting to see what the variant actually means. The United States has also imposed new travel bans on 8 African nations, including South Africa, due to concerns over Omicron, with the first infection spotted in the country on Wednesday in California. Top White House COVID-19 advisor Anthony Fauci defended the policy the same day, arguing that the restrictions were needed to buy time temporarily, even while acknowledging some of the affected countries have not seen a single case of the new variant. And, I firmly agree with being careful with any of this stuff. That just makes sense. But it almost seems like they're doing everything they can, looking for that excuse to really bring that hammer down. That's what it looks like to me. That's what it looks like to me. Hang on, gotta have some coffee. So, here's a study. Mass vaccination fails to halt COVID transmission rates. Apparently, that's what said study says. Not my claims, YouTube, and I'm not giving medical advice. I'm reading an article. Successful vaccine rollouts have failed to stop COVID transmission, with new data showing that the prevalence of the virus increasing in fully jabbed individuals, according to a medical study in The Lancet. Examining new infections in Germany, researchers found that the rate of cases among fully vaccinated individuals aged 60 and older has risen from 16.9% in July to 58.9% in October, offering a clear assessment that fully vaccinated people are increasingly becoming the source of COVID transmission. The study identified a similar situation in the UK. Throughout Britain, the number of household contacts exposed to unvaccinated cases, 23%, was slightly lower than the number exposed to vaccinated individuals at 25%. In the space of 3 weeks in Britain, 100 COVID cases were reported among individuals who are 60 and older. Out of those infections, 89.7% of people were fully vaccinated, while 3.4% were unvaccinated. More concerning for researchers, in Israel, an outbreak that infected multiple healthcare workers and patients, as well as their family members, came from a fully vaccinated hospital patient. Backing up the fears expressed in the study, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention currently lists 4 of the 5 areas across the U.S. with highest percentage of fully vaccinated individuals as high transmission counties. Researchers warn that the decision makers must acknowledge the risk that is still posed by vaccinated individuals. We've kind of been saying that. The research released in The Lancet comes as countries weigh imposing COVID vaccine mandates to help protect citizens from the spread of the Omicron variant and a potential resurgence in case numbers. Greece became the first nation in the EU to implement a COVID vaccine requirement, threatening all over 60s who don't get the jab with a monthly fine. So, this is what we have been saying. None of this is making sense. How they're treating it, how they're acting. None of it's making any sense. And if they could make sense of it, maybe people would be a little less hesitant. But that's not my fault. That's not your fault. It's ridiculous. It really truly is. So, going to shift gears here to the military front, if you will. And the first one we're going to talk about China. The only one about China. But it's big enough. Apparently, the U.S. has confirmed that AUKUS is aimed at China, or the Indo-Pacific region, I would say. It says here, America's Asia security head has admitted that the AUKUS pact, which includes the sale of nuclear-powered submarines to Australia, was created to counter China in the Indo-Pacific. Speaking on Wednesday, Kirk Campbell, the U.S. Coordinator for Indo-Pacific Affairs on National Security Council, told an audience at the Lowy Institute, a Sydney-based international policy think tank, that AUKUS was more about taking a stand against China than technology sharing. I mean, how can you be... This is crazy. I'm going to continue with this quote. The AUKUS partnership is both a clear anxiety about what we've seen in terms of certain actions and policies on the part of China, but is also a determination that no, we have a role in our future and we're going to stand up, he said. What's that sound like to you? To me, that sounds like gearing up for war. I am convinced that we have a global conflict right before our eyes. I am convinced. Anyway, it says Campbell contended that AUKUS, a partnership between the UK, US, and Australia, was a defining effort against China by all the countries involved, noting that he was extraordinarily proud of the achievement. So, anyway, I'm not going to read the whole thing. Absolute insanity. So now, I'm just going to try to get through these somewhat quickly here. There's, like six headlines, on this particular topic. All right, as you see, the headline here in front of you says, half of Ukraine's army has now been deployed to Donbass, says Moscow. So, I'm telling you, there is a massive troop buildup, both sides. It says here, Ukraine has now stationed well over 100,000 troops and large quantities of hardware on the war-torn Donbass region, the Foreign Ministry alleged on Wednesday morning amid rising tensions. Speaking at a briefing on Wednesday, diplomatic spokeswoman Maria Zakharova claimed that the armed forces of Ukraine are increasing their military force, pulling heavy equipment and personnel. According to some reports, the number of troops in the conflict zone already reaches 125,000 people, and this, if anyone does not know, is half the entire composition of the armed forces of Ukraine, she said. Zakharova also condemned Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky for submitting a bill to the national parliament that would allow units from foreign armed forces to enter the country as part of a multinational exercises next year. According to her, such a move directly contradicts the Minsk agreement signed in 2014 in a bid to end the fighting between Kiev's forces and troops loyal to two self-declared breakaway republics. So, anyway, point being, that is one side of the huge buildup. Continue on here. Russia tells U.S. Embassy staff to leave Moscow. Now, there's been a lot of tit for tat back and forth. A lot of tits, tats, who knows. They are diplomats, you know. So, anyway, there's been a lot of back and forth between the countries. Let me read what it says here. It says American embassy workers who have been stationed in Moscow for over 3 years have been given just weeks to leave the country, Russia's foreign ministry has announced amid a growing row with Washington over diplomatic visas. Speaking at a briefing on Wednesday, diplomatic spokeswoman Maria Zakharova announced that by January 31st, 2022, employees of the U.S. Embassy in Moscow who have been on assignment for more than 3 years must leave Russia. The news comes after Washington reportedly denied extending the visas of dozens of family members of Russian diplomats based in the U.S. According to Zakharova, we consider the American move to be a clear expulsion and intend to react accordingly. And that's exactly what they did. She said such a game was started by American policy decisions rather than because Russia was eager to break off ties. And again, this is not good. When they're playing games with diplomats and stuff like that, when they start removing people from embassies and stuff like that, these are not good directions that we want to go. The more diplomats and the more individuals that say the United States or Russia tell to come back home, the more likelihood that a conflict is near. And there's been a whole hell of a lot of people at this point been sent home. A whole lot. So continuing on here, Russian aggression in Ukraine will lead to serious consequences, says the U.S. I mean, we're already getting ready to jump in. Says here, any aggression by Russia toward Ukraine could trigger serious consequences, and Moscow should think twice, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said on Tuesday in Latvia, where he's attending a meeting of NATO foreign ministers. Standing alongside Latvian Foreign Minister Edgars Rinkēvičs or something, I have no idea, Blinken slammed Russia as issuing increasingly belligerent rhetoric and alleged that the country was conducting unusual troop movements along Ukraine's border. Any escalatory actions by Russia would be a great concern to the United States, as they would to Latvia, and any renewed aggression would trigger serious consequences, Blinken told the press. The Secretary of State's comments come amid reports from some Western media sources that Russia is planning to mount an invasion of Ukraine in the near future, with Moscow facing accusations that's building up its military presence on the Russian-Ukrainian frontier. So, like I say, U.S. is more or less saying they're ready to pounce. That's what they're saying. Putin called on NATO to try to, who knows what's really going on, but supposedly to try to smooth the waters a little bit. Hang on. Says here, Russian President Vladimir Putin has said he will request talks with NATO to ensure that the U.S.-led military bloc does not creep closer to his country's borders as Kiev moves to allow Western troops into Ukraine. Speaking to a group of newly arrived ambassadors in the Kremlin on Wednesday, Putin said that his country will insist on guarantees being set out to exclude the possibility of NATO moving any further to the east and deploying threatening weapons close to Russian territory. I would like to emphasize that we need those to be legal guarantees, the Russian president said, given that our Western colleagues have not fulfilled their respective oral obligations. Everyone knows they've made promises they wouldn't expand eastwards, but then they did the opposite. Legitimate Russian security concerns have been ignored and continue to be ignored. Putin insisted that the threat at our western borders is really growing, and we've repeatedly talked about it. It is enough to see how close NATO's military infrastructure has advanced to the Russian borders. It's more than serious for us. He says here, it says, according to him, the Kremlin is taking steps to secure the country's frontiers, but the president insisted that Russia poses no threat to the West. To shift the blame, as we say, from those who are sick in the head onto those of us who are healthy is irresponsible. There's the Biden administration, Here is Western missiles in Ukraine will force Russia to react, says top Moscow senator, because that's the other thing that's being talked about. It's being talked about U.S. deploying missiles there, and then obviously Belarus has been talking about having Russia deploy missiles there. So, not good. Here it says a senior Russian senator has advised Kiev and the West to consider how Moscow will react following revelations that strike missile systems could possibly appear in Ukraine close to the Russian frontier. Writing on Telegram channel, Alexei Pushkov suggested that Russia would have to take action in response. The appearance of missile strike systems in Ukraine will force Russia to react, he wrote. I believe that Kiev, Brussels, and Washington should take this warning very seriously. Pushkov was reacting to a comment made by Russian President Vladimir Putin at Tuesday's Russia Calling Investment Forum when he said that the appearance of advanced weaponry near the border is a serious issue. So, and I would agree. I would agree. There comes a point to where when a potential threat is built up to a certain level, you have to do something. I mean, what are you going to do? And that's absolutely what it seems like is going on here. It seems like there is a pretty formidable force being built up, and truthfully has been for a very long time, but right now is an extremely elevated, the amount of stuff that they're moving is a lot more, and obviously, like we've said, they're talking about putting missiles over there. And then lastly, I've got this article here. We'll see what comes from this. NATO ready to punish Russia. Here it says NATO member states are prepared to take action against Russia should it show aggression since neighboring Ukraine. The White House's top diplomat has announced as tensions between Moscow and the U.S. military bloc run high. Speaking at a conference in Latvia on Wednesday, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the organization is ready to take serious measures and NATO is ready to strengthen its eastern flank. Washington's envoy, however, insisted the military bloc does not harbor any ill intent against Moscow. NATO is a defensive alliance, he said. We are not a threat to Russia. Every step we take is aimed at maintaining active protective measures of our alliance members, as well as helping our partners. Also on Wednesday, the bloc's Secretary General, Jens Stoltenberg, vowed that NATO will actively contribute to building the military capabilities of Ukraine and Georgia so they can defend themselves. We are conducting exercises, sharing information, providing equipment, and supporting the reform process, he said, adding that its support for the two partner states' sovereignty and territorial integrity remains unwavering. The broadside from Blinken and Stoltenberg comes amid a standoff between the military bloc and Russia over its increased presence in Eastern Europe. Earlier on Wednesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin said Moscow will insist on guarantees being set out to exclude the possibility of NATO moving any further to the east and deploying threatening weapons close to Russian territory. So, anyway, this is, like I said, not easing up whatsoever. And we better keep a very, very, very close eye on it. I just happened to look up. Sorry I don't pay more attention to chat. I just happened to look up and I seen Hexafus write, should I build a bomb shelter? Why not? I mean, is the answer ever going to be no? I mean, come on. The question should be how fast should you build a bomb shelter, and I'd be buying my shovels. Let's see. Let me get some headlines out of the way. Hell, it's already 9 o'clock. Let me get the headlines out of the way and get the heck out of here. 'Cause, you know. Fun times. Okay, I got one from last night that I put out. A top U.S. military official speaks on hypersonic weapons race with China. Pretty interesting article. No, I didn't include it with the stuff I talked about. I considered it and thought, let's see, left-wing wife of ousted, I'll get it right, Honduran leader wins presidential election. U.S. government asks communities to host nuclear waste to meet Biden climate agenda. Man, I'm butchering reading these headlines right. Up to 740,000 missed cancer referrals in the UK due to COVID-19. Premier League star fights off bat-wielding thug during robbery attempt. Most Americans view one nation as enemy, says a poll. And in other words, their poll indicates that that most Americans see China as the enemy. Michigan school shooting suspect took a gun bought on Black Friday, says police. UK. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that part earlier. Let me real quick bring this up. I'm sorry that I forgot. I think it's kind of important. With all the reading that I read about that situation with that 15-year-old and that shooting at that high school, they really talk about it being premeditated and stuff, and I believe that there's a high likelihood that that's absolutely true. But they also made it almost seem like it was premeditated for a hell of a lot longer than 4 days. So that's kind of confusing to me. And they also acted like this kid somehow indicated that he had a lot of experience or something. I don't know. I don't know. It was very weird as I was reading through all the different articles, and most of them were just literally copy-paste of the other, but you know, once in a while you would read one that had just a little bit of something. Either it was somebody they had something that somebody they had talked to said or whatever, you know. Anyway, UK advises on Christmas plans with Omicron spreading. Blowing the whistle on Tesla will cost you $50. I guess they're selling whistles for $50. Talked about that. NATO provides guarantees to allies and not partners, not like Ukraine, says Stoltenberg. OPEC says no to Joe. Pretty much like the whole country. A man jailed for COVID money spent on Lamborghini and strippers. Well, you know. The hell of a night, though. I'm telling you. Russia planning to swap gas for hydrogen exports as EU goes green. A hidden motive prevents West from properly investigating the Navalny case, says Moscow. Covered that. Covered that. Beijing is warned not to commit economic suicide. Japan wants U.S. bases to ground fighter jets. Russian men arrested over Chinese mail-order bride scam. I'm glad I didn't fall for that scam, because I'd have been pissed if I'd have paid that money and she never showed up. Protests against military rule rage in Sudan. Russia sets out position on mandatory vaccinations. Oil industry to lose nearly half its workers. Covered that. Beijing slams Australia over delusional miscalculation. World Bank offers its green guidance to Russia. Let's see. Sudden death of Taekwondo champion, 19, branded a mystery. 19 years old. Wonder what it might have been. Just, you know. Covered that. United States is running short of Santas. So, if you like to be jolly and don't mind a bunch of pee on your lap, why not, right? Go be a Santa. U.S. officials name culprit behind cyber attacks on Iran, says the media. Omicron variant infected concert goer exposes some 2,000 people to the threat. France wants EU to help in handling the UK. Can we get some help handling Joe? Please? Russia names America's weaknesses. Joe. Ukraine warns Belarus not to recognize Crimea as Russia. Western missiles in Ukraine will covered that one, sorry. Antibody neutralizing all COVID variants found, a Chinese scientist claims. U.S. Navy ponders cutting training flight hours. Dramatic or dangerous, flyover at Titans game draws scrutiny. And it was no big deal. People are just soft in the head. Armed police storm homes over social media comments. Young Americans see U.S. democracy as failed, says a poll. French presidential candidate accused of piracy. Covered that one. Epstein accuser explains how she was groomed by Maxwell. Ku Klux Klan caucus accused of targeting Ilhan Omar. Google violated "Don't Be Evil" motto, ex-employees say. Ukraine says viral video of migrants being shot at is fake. Covered that. Doctor who oversaw Epstein autopsy quits. Covered that. There's footage there of when the police pulled over that MSNBC producer that was following the jury bus during the Rittenhouse trial. It's the body cam footage of that. Michigan school shooting suspect being charged with terrorism. Oh, I covered that, sorry. I did a report on that earlier. Officer fired after shooting wheelchair-bound man 9 times. Ex-Argentine president charged in spying case. Key Democrat exits Congress. Big Pharma unites Americans in disdain. Musk takes dig at new Twitter CEO with Stalin comparison. Yeah, pretty accurate. South Africa criticizes covered that, sorry. And covered that. I do have a number 1 up here. Wow, that didn't take that long. There were a ton of headlines I had to sift through today. I mean a ton. Let's see. China summons Japanese ambassador in Taiwan row. Let me get that shared out real super quick like. And then I'm going to disappear. Fun. Anyway, keep your eyes open. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm going to continue saying the same things over and over. You know, keep getting ready. Keep getting ready. I don't know when all this is going to come falling down. Nobody knows. But as every day goes by, it looks like the foundations are getting a little shakier. So anyway, you know, again, at this point, I've got the same message. Keep getting ready. Keep your eyes open. And get ready to act. However that may be. I can't even tell you what it is that's going to get us. It's so hard to say at this point. It's unreal. Anyway, keep your eyes open. And God willing, we'll be back tomorrow and tell you what's going on then. Anyway, I hope to see you then. I am out of here. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.